Most of y'all know Carla and Mike Haygood. I've known Mike for a long time, Carla for almost as long, but Mike has been around. Those of you got the flyers, he's trained under some very good people. Carla being under some good judo instructors as well, national kata champion. Mike being a top and everything else, so he's got lots of experience, a little street experience under his belt, as well as just technical book learning, more or less, type of training. So this seems to be, it's going to be a fun, hopefully have a fun experience. If you need anything, if you have any problems, I have 2 bottles of aspirin over here. Actually, 1 bottle of ibuprofen and 1 bottle of aspirin for anybody. Please feel free to have fun, take time, ask questions, enjoy yourself. This is scheduled for 3 hours. I don't know how long we can make it last, but it's posted for 3. But we'll see how long we can go or how short it goes. So.
It'll be the full 3 hours.
Okay. So
a lot of material to cover.
Okay, so that's where we're trying to get started like right on time, which is amazing for any seminar that I've ever had, so or been to. So without any further ado, I introduce you to Carla and Mike Haygood. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is not going to be taught like a regular martial arts class. We're going to be a little bit more relaxed. However, these techniques that we're going to teach involve joint locks. So we're going to be very, very, very careful when you work out with your partner. Go very slow. Take your time. Don't try to rush anything. But believe me, you will break a bone in a second. I worked out with my darling wife, trying to be as light as possible and still hurt her. So, if you don't have a handout, we have handouts over here on the front. We're going to cover everything on there. First thing I want to do is, as a police officer, and especially in the streets of Houston, we have a large influx of people from Mexico, South America, so we're walking into a knife culture. We're seeing more and more knives being used on the street. And it is not what you would think the great fighting knives and stuff like this. This is what people think about when they think about knife fighting and stuff. This is not what you see. What we find most, kitchen knives. Kitchen knives, steak knives, anything like this is readily available. Okay. Hello, camera.
Hey.
This is what we're finding used most. Something very, very readily available, very cheap, a $2 knife. Okay? But this kills people. The other thing, screwdrivers. More people get hurt by being attacked by a screwdriver than they do by a fighting knife. Third thing, innocuous though it may seem, a pin. I saw a guy killed by having a pin drove through his eye. Got in a fight with his girlfriend. Got pissed at him, took a pin, shoved it through his eye and killed him. Okay? What we are basically going to try to work on, try to give you, in order to defend against the knife, you basically have to learn how to use a knife. And what we're going to work on are pocket knives. Teach you how to use a pocket knife. Different types of holes for it. This is in Texas, legal length of a blade is 5 inches. Can only be sharpened on one side. Handle can be however long it wants to be, but the blade can only be 5 inches. You also, this can be opened one-handed, but because I can take 2 hands and open it like this, that makes this knife legal. Switchblades are illegal in Houston, in Texas. You can buy them through the magazine. You can go to the gun show and buy them all the time. If you get caught out on the street, you will be arrested for possession of an illegal weapon. Maximum length of a blade in Texas is 5 inches. This is a 5-inch blade. Okay. It is a clip knife. It is a pocket knife. These are the two that I carry when I'm on duty. I have never used them. I hope I never have to use them, but they're there just in case. This type of knife I would not recommend civilian carry because this is a fighting knife, pure and simple. There's no other reason for this knife being in existence. This is a utility knife. You can use a lot. You can do a lot of stuff with it. But I have a brief film for you to watch. I have a brief film for you to watch. I cannot emphasize enough how devastating knives can be. If you are up close to somebody, I would rather have a knife in my hand than any other type of weapon. And I carry rifles, shotguns, and pistols. Within this distance, I can do more damage with that knife than anybody can with a rifle or a shotgun or a pistol before you can even pull the trigger. Knife fighting is very, very serious business. Okay? Let's go ahead and everybody have a seat out here real quick. Sorry, the camera's over there.
Yeah,
Question about you said the 5-inch blade is legal in Texas.
Maximum.
What does that mean? Does that mean carrying it on the street, or does that
Yes.
mean owning it at home? Or
No.
What does that mean?
Own it at home, you can have anything that you want. Carrying it on the street, as soon as you walk outside your property, can't be more than 5 inches. Okay. I've been requested to ask everybody to move to that end.
This way.
Because of the camera.
This way, here.
Three basic grips that you use with a knife, especially if you have a folding knife that doesn't have a tang to, or a guard to it. First one is a saber grip. It's held 45 degrees across the palm of the hand. Butt end of the knife is in your palm, the heel of your hand. That way when you strike something, you have something to push against. Otherwise, if you hit a bone, hand just slides right up the blade and you cut yourself. Okay? So 45 degrees across the palm and braced with the heel of your hand. Thumb is on the back of the knife, not square, but slightly to the side. Okay. Reason for that is, again, you're striking at something, you hit bone, this gives, you want your thumb to be able to fall off of it. Otherwise, your thumb rolls back and you break your thumb. This grip is the most flexible, has the largest reach. The disadvantages to it is you can't use the base of the knife to strike with, and you can't hook anything. Second grip is the one that everybody talks about when they talk about knife fighting. This is the reverse grip with the blade out. Reverse grip is very good for hiding the knife Or, sorry, if somebody attacks you, you can hook the knife, carry it on around and back across the throat. You lack flexibility with this type of grip that you do with the saber grip. But there are some cases where you need that ability to hook. Somebody attacks, you don't want to kill them. You just want to disarm them. You can hook, take that knife right on out. Just by hooking that knife. Third one is what they call a hammer grip. It's just 90 degrees across the palm. Somebody attacks, you don't want to hurt them. You're just going to smash with the butt of the knife. Again, you lose flexibility with this type of grip. You don't have the reach. You don't have the ability to hook. So all three grips are important. You've got to be able to go from one grip to the next grip, depending on the situation. You get into a knife fight, your knife falls on the ground. You do not have time to say, well, I need to pick the knife up, turn the blade out, get my grip here. You're watching that opponent, so you reach down, whatever grip that you have, that's what you work with. Okay? So when we're going through these techniques, we're going to use all three of these grips. Saber grip, reverse grip, and a hammer grip. Okay? I'm just making sure I follow the syllabus. There are basic strikes to use when you're using a knife. First one is a slice. Slice is going to cut all the way through the body. It's not going to stop. Depending on the type of knife that you use, with a fighting knife that I showed you with a round belly, you have a large area that the knife penetrates. With a tanto, you have 2 points to work with. So actually when you slice along this diagonal of this second point. So it's a very deep cut. Right? So, first is just a slice, all the way through the body. Whether it's a saber grip, whether it's a reverse grip, whether it's a hammer grip, going all the way through the body. Second one is a chop. No, yeah, chop. Chops are used with the Bowie knife, a heavier knife, an axe, shovel. You're actually going into the body and it will stop inside the body. You'll see that used a lot with a Bowie knife because they're so heavy. Next one you have a snap cut. Yes. Snap cut is a very defensive cut. It's a very shallow cut. They attack. You're just going to come, snap, and come back out of it. It's very small cuts on the body to get distance and get timing. Give you enough time to get back out of the way and go into whatever your attack that you're going to use. So it's just going to come out, come back in. And when you do that, you're actually rolling your wrist with a saber cut. With a reverse grip, you're rolling your wrist again. Okay. With a hammer grip, not as important because it's just out and back in. Okay. Last one everybody knows is the straight jab. Whether it's coming from the diagonal, whether it's coming from the back diagonal, upward diagonal, or straight ahead. It's just a straight jab. Saber cut, reverse grip, hammer grip. Okay. We have three distances that we work with of the knife. Number one is the most important. It's called long range. By long range, for those of you in martial arts, we're talking about knife tip to knife tip. At this distance, I can cut her hand, but I can't touch her body. She can do the same thing. She can't touch my body as long as I maintain that distance. Okay. The second one is close range. Mid-range, I'm sorry, mid-range. Mid-range, I can cut her hand. I can use my free hand to check it. I can also cut her body. Problem is, I can't use the base of the knife to strike her. I can't use elbow strikes. I can't use knee strikes. I'm not close enough to do that. When she attacks, block with a knife, control with this hand. You're ready to come in. Third one is close range. Close range, I'm going to attack with the knife, control with the free hand. I'm able to step in and use my elbow, use my knee. I've got throws, I've got joint locks I can use, control techniques. Okay? Those are the three ranges that we're talking about. Knife fighting. Seven times. I cut her stomach, stabbed her twice. That fast. Don't get in close range if you can help. Okay? Stay at this range. As long as she stays at this range, it doesn't matter how fast I am. The most I can do is cut her hand. Okay? Now, I apologize for going through this fast, but I want everybody to get practice time in. We're going to work on 5 major lines of attack. First one is a downward from her left side to her right hip. Just go straight across her body. Second one is a backhand from her right shoulder to her left hip. It's coming straight down. Whether you're using a saber grip, reverse grip, or hammer grip, it doesn't matter. Here, here, here. Third one and fourth one are horizontals. Straight across the body. And back the same way. Forehand and backhand, that's 3 and 4. 5 is just a straight jab. Okay. What I want everybody to do is line up with your partner. We're going to be moving this direction. Okay, grab a partner. Yeah. Everybody got a partner? Okay. Tori on that side, Uke on this side. What I want you to do is go through these 5 angles of attack, long distance. You step here. I'm going to step and do a number 1 through 5. She's going to be Tori. As she steps back, the only thing that she does is cut my hand for each attack. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we change partners. She's Uke, I'm Tori. She comes with the 5 attacks. Only thing I do is step back and cut her hand. 3, 4, 5. Okay? Go through all 5 angles. Use a saber grip, use a reverse grip, use a hammer grip. Okay? Grab your partner and let's move back and forth and do that a couple of times. If somebody's attacking you with a highline attack, where do you cut them? You cut them underneath. Somebody's coming with a low line attack, where do you cut? You cut them from the top. Okay? If she attacks me with a low line attack, and I come in and try to do a low line block to it, I'm walking right into her knife. She does a number 2 slice low, or number 3 slice low line. I do a low line attack, I'm walking right into her knife. Okay? If she does a low line attack, I want to come over the top of the knife. I want to stay away from that blade. Okay? So think about that when you're working with your partner. One quick thing, it's a nice little deal. When you're working with your knife, she attacks, I stab, I want to suddenly come back to here. Changing the grip. You can go from this to this in a second. And this is how you do it. Thumb and ring finger on the base of the knife. Hold it horizontal. Just rotate this around. Turn your hand over. You've got the reverse grip.
For me, it works better for my middle finger.
Okay. But don't get up here at the top of the handle. I'm trying to do this because the base will stop you. Get down toward the end of it. You've got a saber grip. Just put your thumb down here. Rotate this horizontally. Turn your hand over. You've got a reverse grip. Okay? Try that for a little bit. Because it's a good transition when you don't lose control of the knife.
What do I do with that?
Yep. Same thing. Thumb and finger right here. Right in position. All you have to do is move your thumb and there you go. Thumb and ring finger or index finger. Horizontal. And your hand over. Back the same way. You just move your thumb in place and you're ready to go. Nice little move. Okay. From here to a hammer grip is nothing. All you're doing is changing the position of your wrist. She's attacking. You're not really wanting to hurt her. You can immediately go to a hammer grip. That's no problem. If she's attacking, you decide at the last second, I just want to parry this. Go to reverse grip. After you practice this for a while, you can do it that fast. You can decide between the time she gets ready to attack and the time she does, you can reverse your grip. Okay? So, Carla, will let's try that while it's in place. Get a drink of water. You give him a large magic marker, and you tell him, go berserk on him. You see how many marks you have on him. I don't care what you studied, how long you studied. You will have marks on you. Okay? It is not worth it. There are no winners in the night. Ever. There are only survivors. Okay. Everybody have water and rested? Okay. We're going to move into mid-range. Okay. Mid-range means that when she attacks, I can block and cut and control with my free hand. Okay? To be able to do that, when you're using a knife or when you're, I teach harness also, when you're using stick, most of this knife fighting comes from Arnis, because Arnis is a very weapons-oriented type of system. But I'm an Aikido player, so I add a lot of Aikido to this. In Arnis, you keep your free hand on your chest. The reason being is the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Okay? If you have your hand out here, I first have to raise my hand up and then push it out to do anything. Okay? The habit is, most people like to fight like this. Okay? What's going to happen to this hand? Also, you have a habit, when she attacks, I block with this hand. Never, 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 never. If she had the Bowie knife or if she had the cooker in her hand, my arm would be laying on the ground right there. You saw that videotape. 4 layers, 4 inches of hemp is equivalent of an arm. The Bowie knife was going through 8, the cooker is going through 12. Okay. Keep your free hand centered on your chest. Okay? You stand not straight to your opponent, but about a 45-degree angle. The reason being you don't want a 90-degree angle is you can't get that free hand involved with it. When you're doing long range, your free hand is not involved, so you do more of a 90-degree angle to your opponent. Okay? Mid-range and close range, you do more of a 45-degree angle to your opponent, so that you can use that free hand to attack, to block it, control it. Okay. When you're in close or mid-range, you want to work on the elbow, you want to work on off balances. The main off balances we're using are the 45-degree corners. When she does a number 1 attack, I want to take her off balance to this corner, or if my timing is better, take her off balance to that back corner. Okay? Again, if you don't know what she has in this hand, don't take her to that back corner, because it's just going to spin around into you. If you know that that hand is empty, you can get away with that. Preferable is to draw them off balance slowly. Here, attack with a knife. Notice that I'm stepping 45 degrees to that direction. I block with the knife, control either her wrist or her elbow, and bring her off balance 45 degrees. This will give you a fraction of a second to do whatever you need to do before she can react. She can punch with this hand, but because she's off balance, there is no real force behind this blow. She can't use her feet to kick without shifting her weight. And as soon as she shifts her weight, you can throw it. Okay. Close range. Free hand stays centered on the chest. You're at a 45-degree angle to your opponent. We'll go through the 5 angles of attack very, very slowly. Step back, cut with a knife. You meet a knife with a knife. Control her wrist or her elbow. Bring her off balance 45 degrees and attack. She does a number 2 attack. I step off the line 45 degrees. Meet her knife with my knife. Control her wrist or her elbow. Bring her off balance. Attack. Number 3. Notice that she had a high angle on this. A low angle. Okay. She's coming in with a high angle. I come under her knife. Bring her off balance 45 degrees. Cut. She comes in with a low angle on this side. I come over the top. Control her wrist or her elbow. Bring her off balance, 45 degrees, attack. Number 5, you can move either direction, depending on how you're standing at the time. Here. Or here. Doesn't matter. Okay? Key things. Free hand stays here in front of your chest, 45 degrees to your opponent. You do not stand with the knife out because you have no thrusting motion. In order to thrust, I first have to pull this back and then go forward. Okay. You always stand with it slightly bent. Okay? Let her cut. Okay? So. Here. Just like you were doing before, but very slowly. 1 through 5. 1. Make sure you have that off balance. 2. Make sure you have that off balance. 3. Off balance. Low. 4. Off balance. 5. Either direction. Okay? Work back and forth with that. Use all 3 grips. Change partners as when you get to the end of the rope. Okay? Work on that. Everybody, but I want to emphasize this more. Luque is attacking in a straight line because she's nice. Okay. Attacks usually don't happen in a straight line. Attacks happen from the side. Okay. Break your opponent's balance. Draw them out 45 degrees. Do the number 1 attack very slowly. Use the knife with the knife. Break them out 45 degrees. They cannot use their feet. They cannot use their other hand. You're out of range. You have time then to do whatever you want to do. You can take the knife away. You can do whatever you want to do, which we'll get into a little bit later. She attacks from this side. Use the knife with the knife. Step out. Draw her 45 degrees off balance. Okay? You see how critical this is. This gives you time to do something. If I bring her balance straight forward, I'm not really affecting it. All I'm doing is making her come forward. See what she just did? Okay? She does the same thing, which is number 5. And I take her 45 degrees. Notice how she's almost turning her back to me. I've got plenty of time to do something before she can recover and do anything. Okay? She does a number 5 attack again. I take her 45 degrees this way. Again, I've got her back to deal with. I don't have to worry about her feet. I don't have to worry about her hands. She can't use them. Okay? Draw your opponent out 45 degrees. Very, very critical. Okay? Do that very, very slowly with your partner. Do that a couple times back and forth. Think about it. Where the attack is coming from, if it's coming from this side, do a number 1 attack, step that direction. If the attack is coming from number 2, step that direction. Okay? If he does a number 2 attack, and I step back this way, all he has to do is just swing right around which is the natural momentum of his body. This hand is right in position to strike. Okay? If he does a number 1 attack, and I step this way, what about his left hand? Left hand is going to punch. So whatever side the knife is coming from, do number 1. That's the side that you want to break the balance on. Number 2. Okay? Think about that too. She does a number 1 attack. I step that direction. She does a number 2 attack. I step that direction. Okay? Draw her out 45 degrees. Don't jam her. Draw her out. You want that off balance. It's going to become very critical for this third part. Close range knife. I do not recommend this, but if you get into a situation, you've got to be able to handle it. If you get into, yes, take 5-minute break. When you think you're thirsty, you've already dehydrated 20% of your body. As soon as you start feeling thirst, you've already dehydrated 20%. Okay, so if you're all thirsty, please drink some water. If you're finished, let's line up again. Tori on that side, Uki on this side. Tori on that end, move down to here. All the rest of the Tori, step 1 step to the right. I want you to work with as many people as possible. Okay, Carla? What we've worked on is long range, which is what you, if you absolutely have to be in a knife fight, this is the range you want to be in. It's the least damage. Mid-range, if she just powers over you, just comes smashing in, and you always want off balance, whichever way you're going. Yeah. What did I do wrong?
Went to the right side.
Exactly. Good eyes. Good eyes. Okay, she does a number 2 attack. Get her back to me. All right. You get into close range. Close range, you start getting elbows involved, you get knees involved, you get locks involved, you get throws involved. What? Everybody has different martial arts backgrounds. What you do is up to you. We're going to teach you 1 or 2 things that's possible that goes along with everything else we've done. Against a number 1 or a number 3 attack, if I'm going to come in close range, I'm going to take her off balance, controlling her elbow. Okay? Aikido principles, I move into her body, or into her arm, lock her arm under my bicep. I want to control behind her elbow, not under her elbow. This is not an arm bar. If I try to push up on this an arm bar, she's going to pull out and cut me on the way out. Okay? This is locking the wrist under your bicep and coming behind the elbow and pulling that in. Okay? Lock that in place. If nothing else, you can cover up right here and you're not going to get cut. They're going to hit you and try to kick you and everything like that, but you're so close to them that they're not going to be that effective. And you can hold on like this for a long time. They still can't cut you. Okay? So, come back again. Number 1 or a number 3 attack. Step out 45 degrees. Control the elbow. Break that balance 45 degrees over. Do not pull her arm into you. You step into that arm. Hook behind the elbow. Pull the elbow in. Lock her wrist to your body. Okay? So if I get right here I can stay here a long time, and she can't do a lot of damage to me. Okay? So, try number 1 and number 3. Go slow, go careful, but get that lock and let the other person try a little hard to get out of it.
One of the things that I couldn't understand before was when you're back here, you know, and you've got it against the person, what I didn't realize is a knife is the slicing motion, right? That's where you cut. So if you've got it locked in and it's there, again, you're not slicing. You know, it might be against. You need to be able to slice. So that's why you want to lock it in. Okay, so that you're not slicing.
This is where you see a lot of the Indian knife walkers and stuff. They sit there and they put their foot flat on the knife. As long as you put the foot flat on the knife, you're dissipating all the energy across a wide area. Okay? And you can walk across a fairly sharp knife without getting cut. As soon as you slice it off, everything opens up. Regardless of how, well, I won't say that. A good knife, if you look at it under a microscope, a plain not a serrated edge, but a plain edge like this, if you look at it under a microscope, it has tiny little serrations in the blade. There are some people who take a knife and they strop it, which is a final process of sharpening a knife, to a point where there is absolutely no striations. It will not cut well. It's strange, but it won't. You have to have those tiny little serrations in the knife in order for it to cut well. Conversely, if you have a knife with the large serrations in it, kitchen knife is a perfect example. With the large serrations in it, it cuts dead meat very, very well. But when you cut live meat, you have blood vessels involved. It rips blood vessels. When blood vessels get ripped, they close. So you don't get the bleeding that you do with a regular knife. Okay? That's where you see the knives that I carry. They might have double edges, serrations down at the bottom for cutting knives, cutting seat belts, cutting whatever. But the top is a plain edge. They're all razor sharp. I can cut hair on the back of my hand with any knife that I own. But none of them are serrated up here at the top. They're always serrated in here at the bottom. With a plain edge, the cut is clean through the blood vessel. The blood vessel does not constrict. When you cut with a serrated, you rip it. Anytime you rip a blood vessel, it automatically closes. It tries to close. Okay, so. Where's yours? Oh. That's the best way to deal with a knife fighter. Take it away. Okay. So, like she was saying, that's why you do not have a problem with this position. Okay? She cannot draw that knife across your body. Notice that my hand is behind her elbow. Behind the crook of her elbow and pulling into me. Pulling that in, locking that wrist. Okay?
It's not extended up. You know,
I'm not pushing up like that. I'm not trying to do an armbar. As soon as I do an armbar, she's going to pull out of it and cut me on the way out. You have an artery and a nerve cluster right under here. Karate people, this is a perfect target to hit somebody. That nerve cluster right there will numb this side of the body. Okay? So, in the very beginning, she attacks with a number 1 or a number 3. You step in the direction of the attack. Draw her out 45 degrees. Control that elbow. Step into her arm. Don't pull her arm into you. Lock behind the elbow. Lock her wrist under your bicep. Pull that in. And if you want to stay right here next to her, I'm pushing down on her so she can't use her feet. She can use her left hand, but because it's so close to me, it's not effective. Okay? Now, get your partner and very slowly and very gently go through this.
Brain, okay? Well, apparently it takes 5 times as long to learn footwork than it does handwork. Okay, so when Mike's talking about the distance, okay, in a perfect world, what we would be teaching first is the foot motion first, okay? Because apparently, since we use our hands a lot, that part of the brain is highly developed, so you can learn a lot faster in terms of the hand. Okay, so when you're learning something, first it's the footwork. Second, it's the hip, okay? And then, when you learn that, then the hand, you've got it all together. So though we're teaching this, don't forget the footwork that Mike was talking about in terms of Kazushi, getting out. And it's not natural, and it's going to take you a little bit longer to learn that portion of it, of getting out of the way. So if you're learning something new, learn the footwork first, because your hands are going to learn it a lot faster than what you have to learn in your feet. Second is your hip placement, or the body placement. Then the third, the hand. It's physiology.
But for those Aikido students, this is basic Aikido principles. Okay? Shomanate is a perfect example. She attacks. I take her balance 45 degrees, turn my body so I'm positioned. Now I throw her 45 degrees back. Okay? This works because you're doing this fast enough, you have your hands here, so that if she attacks with that left hand, my hand is already there to block her. Okay? Number 2 attack. Take her off balance, 45 degrees. I move into position. I throw her down at 45 degrees. Basic Aikido principle. Okay? You maintain distance. You take that off balance, 45 degrees. It's the easiest off balance to get. Okay? That's what we're working on. Anybody having problems with this last part? With the knife. You're catching behind these 2 bones, pulling in behind those 2 bones, locking that bicep into your body. Remember, in Aikido, you do not pull the opponent into you, you step into the opponent. Okay? Let's go back to practice. You learn to defend against a knife by learning to use a knife. What happens now if you are unarmed and this person has a knife? Kamiki Aikido has a knife fighting system that Tamiki developed along the same lines as Shiai and Judo. Competition. The only stipulation was
The knife can only go straight out and come straight back. There are no slashes. Kaguri, when he was here, would do a whole lot of randori with a knife and could very easily defend against the straight-on attack. When somebody started slashing, all of a sudden that system fell apart. Okay? Control the elbow. Take the 45-degree off balance. When somebody starts slashing, you have 2 points of zero momentum forward. One when she draws back at that point. Second, when she completes the stroke at that point. Those are the only 2 places you have to attack somebody, to go for their elbow, if they have a knife and you don't. Any place else, if I catch her coming forward and I try this, that's exactly what's going to happen. If I catch her too early, when the knife passes, she's just going to circle right under it. Come into it. You have 2 points. One at the extension where she gets ready to attack. 2 at the bottom when that arc is finished. Okay? It is not enough that you touch the elbow. If she does a number 1 attack, she does a number 1 attack, and I touch the elbow and don't affect her balance, she's going to cut me. Okay? Regardless of where I touch her elbow in her movement. If I'm here, I haven't affected her balance yet, the knife is just going to come straight down. She completes the cut. I touch the elbow, but I haven't affected her balance. There goes my knee. And a favorite technique on a knife fighter is a hamstring. I've been to a couple of, 4 different knife clinics and a whole lot of artist clinics. One of the things that they like to do is they feint high and come down right for that knee. Without that hamstring, you can't move. Okay? So, unarmed against a knife. Number 1 and number 3 attack. You have 2 chances. Here, and immediately do something, or here, and immediately do something. Those are your only 2 choices. Any place else along that line will not work. You've got to have control of that elbow. You've got to break that balance in order to give you a chance to do something. If she does a number 2 or a number 4 attack, same thing. You immediately go for that elbow. On a backhand, do not go for the elbow after that knife is passed, because she'll just collapse the arm and cut you. Okay? Everybody see what I'm talking about? Number 1 and number 3, 2 places. 1, 2. Even if you don't grab that elbow, you're still controlling that elbow. She can't get into you. You've got this hand free, you've got a leg free, you've got an elbow free. You can do a lot of damage to her before she can recover from that. Drawing her out off balance. Whether I'm grabbing her or whether I'm just pushing her out. Okay? Number 2 and number 4. The only time that you have is when she draws that knife back. Make sure you have that off balance. Okay?
on my.
All of her weight's on her left foot. If she tried to kick, and I leave. Okay? Very slowly. Okay. Use the knife. Tori put their knife in their V. Do one and three attacks. Take the block on the rise. Make sure you take the off balance 45 degrees. Take the block after the cut. Notice how I turned her almost completely around with that.
I know it's real obvious, but you step out of the way and go in.
It's dangerous if you're doing some knock out to the right side on one or three. Putting she's coming in, you just step off to the side with your hands. Is that
She's doing the
is she doing a number one?
number
cross?
one.
Yeah. And you
And I do
need to-
Shomanate.
Yeah, you should just cut straight across it.
Do number one. Remember, see how her arm collapsed? Okay. Control the elbow. Do Shomanate. Come here. Do Shomanate. From there, you've got a whole different animal. You've got to control the off balance, control the elbow. You've got to get that off balance. Otherwise, you're dead in the water.
On the, I guess the wind-up is a good way to say it. This motion, is that a real common motion in reality, or is it more of a, I mean, do people really do that when they're actually trying to strike? Is that real common, that baseball kind of swing?
On the street, yes.
Yeah, that's my question.
On the street, I've had ladies, domestic disturbances are the worst calls we can ever get.
I'm not trained.
Right. And the husband's beating up the wife, or the wife is beating up the husband. You come in there, Texas state law says they have no say-so in it. We determine if anybody goes to jail or who goes to jail.
What about the, you mentioned like the South American influence. Are these people winding up like that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yes, they are. Okay. Because they are not trained, per se. They've got a natural street fighter going. So they will come in and they will draw back to strike. In a real knife fight, things happen at this distance. We just killed each other. She stabbed me right through here. I stabbed her through her left chest. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. Somebody attacks you with a knife, leave. So, what we're going to do this last 30 minutes is unarmed. Number one, unarmed, sorry, unarmed. Okay. Take it on the rise up. Make sure it's the elbow that you control. If you go for the wrist, she collapses her elbow and just rotates that arm right on around. Control the elbow. You catch her after the strike. Control the elbow, whether you're pushing on it, whether you're grabbing on it, whether you're blocking it with your forearm. It doesn't matter. You have control of that elbow. You have that off balance for a momentary movement. Okay? Try those with your partner. Well, everybody line up. Tori on that side, Uki on that side. Tori, come down to this end. Every Tori, take a step to your right. You'll eventually get to the point where you can catch that knife or control that wrist and come in and do something before he's able to do anything. Okay? So a straight-on attack, the Aikido players have already got an arsenal to work on that. The important thing is this slash. This is what's going to get you killed. Concentrate on that. That'll take care of it. Okay?
But you're learning that.
People getting a little bit more respect for a knife now. You feel that you can defend yourself against a knife? Anybody here? I'm sitting on my hands. I know I can. The only thing I can hope for is to live through it. The handouts that I've given you, this is not something that you can do once and forget it. The only way you learn muscle memory is through repetition. And I'm talking thousands and thousands of repetitions.
You know,
Go slow with your partner. Think about what you're doing. Think about the free hand staying here. Think about controlling the elbow. Thinking about breaking the balance 45 degrees to the corner. She comes through. Control the elbow. Break the balance 45 degrees to the corner. Okay? If you're ever confronted with a knife and you put your hands in your pockets and you pull out limp, you run. You run. I was telling them about an 8-year-old that we had a confrontation with. She had a butcher knife, and it was going like a fan blade. She was just swinging wildly everywhere. There's no way in the world you could feel comfortable. And this is an 8-year-old. Imagine somebody in their 20s, 30s, who is out to kill you. Not confront a knife. It's not worth it. There are no winners. Do you have any questions about what we went over? Any comments?
Well, just a question on some about the technique, but anything about the legality of somebody attacking with a knife, perhaps you're killing them or seriously harming them?
If somebody pulls a knife, I'm going to pull my gun and shoot them until they are dead.
so as a street person, I mean not a street person, but a person on the street,
If you got a CCP, you pull your gun and you fire until that gun doesn't fire anymore. I'm serious. Knife is a deadly weapon. Close in, it will kill you far faster than any firearm would. I'm serious. This close, people have survived shotguns. There's one officer who survived 7 45 rounds to the chest. He still kept on going. But one cut right here with a blade this big, right here, or a jab to the base of the skull, right here. If anybody had ever taken a marksman's course, a sniper rifle course, this is what you aim for. They're gone like that. There is no gasp and everything. It's just, you just turn out the light. They drop right at your feet. And that's what the blade is big.
because that's what you're dealing with in a knife.
Right. Okay. Take these handouts that I've given you, get with somebody, play with this stuff. There are 101 different ways of doing it. Practice, I'm sorry. Correction.
We have some young people here.
Yes. Yes.
Under safe conditions on the mat.
Yes.
Not off the mat.
Yes. I hope that you have learned something. Take this and apply it to whatever art that you're working with. Okay? It makes you think about the other hand, the foot, the elbow, the knee. What is going to happen? If she attacks, I've got control of this knife. So I think I'm done, and all of a sudden she kicks me in my knee, she punches me in the hip, she elbows me. So when you defend against somebody, you're not defending against their weapons, whether they be hands, feet, elbows, whatever. You're defending against their system. Okay. So when they attack on number one, what happened to her son? I've got control of her center. Now I have time to do everything that I want to do. Okay? It's vital. 45-degree angles, control the elbow, all fine. Questions, comments?
Is there anything you can do before they commit to a swing or a strike?
Run.
They got you against the wall and you're just, slashing without commitment. Is there anything you can do without
If you're this close, and they've got the hand out, oh God, there's 101 things to do. Here, smash the elbow.
That typically it would be,
Oh, typically, yes, they're
Yeah.
doing like this. If they're doing this close-in stuff, remember, you're only doing this if your life is on the line. This is the only time you do this. You have no other option. So he stands there and he's waving, you're up against the wall, he's waving a knife in front of your hands. You have no option. You have got to go. You have got to attack. See the difference between that? No. Notice what happens to his back. Lead. Elbow. Flare. Always one difficult to do. Again, you're only doing this in a life and death situation. You have no choice. You will either stand there and die, or you will do something. Okay? Thank you very much for coming. Yes, sir.
All right, welcome to my dojo. Those of you who don't remember me or haven't met me before, my name is Ray Williams. Have a fun class that's going to be happening here for you today. It's called the morning session, and everybody just had an excellent time. Everybody went away smiling and happy and writing notes and going, wow, when can we do this again? And this was worth $50. I'm going, okay. So we did really have a good time. I think y'all are going to learn a whole lot. These some flyers are handed out. Take one down, pass it around. If you'd like to write notes on it, it's yours. If you need some pens, whatever, I got a whole bunch of them, a whole box of these. Matter of fact, if you want a pen, take it with you when you're done. I'd like to introduce to you Carla, Martin, and Mike Haygood. I'm not going to go all the way into all their things, their curriculum vitae, other than let you know that I've known them for umpteen years. They're excellent instructors. They trained under some excellent people. Names, you drop names if you've ever read Blanco magazine, some of those other things, Remy Crisis, or all those. There are too many things, a few. I don't have to pull up the Danny Nosanto, I think, is somebody else trained under. A lot of Arnes, a lot of Aikido, very high-ranking people. I think you're going to have fun. We all enjoyed the morning session. Please feel free to ask questions, take your time. Also, anytime you're thirsty, this is what we identified as the first group, take a break. There's a water fountain right over there you'll be given. This is at least a 3-hour session. The last one went, 10 minutes shy of 3 hours. You'll be given breaks in between, but if you're thirsty, stop, get a drink of water, come back out. Don't wait for the break time to get your drink of water. Okay? Do you have any other physical and mental problems? That's your department.
My whole group's going to raise their hand now.
But let me know. If there's anything before you, let us know. In the meantime, I'm going to turn everything back over to Sensei Haygood and Sensei Martin.
Thank you very much.
We're not going to be as formal as normally probably would be in class because we've got a lot of material to cover and just a couple of hours to do it. This is a basic introductory class. Basically to show you don't want to mess with somebody. You ever get in a confrontation, somebody has a knife in their hand, you reach into your pocket, you pull out lint, you run. You don't fight it. Somebody, I've been in martial arts for 30 years. Master Masato's been it for 45 years. He will be the first one to tell you, somebody has a knife, you beat him. You don't even pretend that you can take somebody. Because there are no winners in a knife fight. There are survivors. Hopefully what we teach you in here today, that you will go home and practice, you can't just see this one and forget it. You have to practice. But this will be enough to at least save your life. Okay? And I want to emphasize how dangerous knife work is, so I've got a tape set up. Let everybody sit down and watch that. It takes 15, 20 minutes. They're using a lot of hemp rope, 1-inch hemp rope. 4 hemp ropes together is the equivalent of an arm. And I have a pocket knife over here that I carry on duty that will cut through 4 pieces of hemp rope in one swipe. Okay. Some of these other knives over here will cut through 12 pieces. So when I say these things are very, very dangerous, I'm extremely serious. So we're going to take a seat. We'll watch this film real quick.
You're going to zip through portions of it, right?
I'm going to teach you how to use a knife. So if we have the rubber knives. Okay. Everybody come up here and grab your knife. And we'll get started in the actual work.
Not quite, not north.
Further north?
Would you, move here?
You've got 3 basic grips on a knife that we're going to work with today. First grip, and the one you're going to use most often, is called a saber grip. The knife is going to lay 45 degrees across your hand. And if you have a knife that doesn't have a guard to it, you want the butt of the knife resting against the palm of your hand, or the heel of your hand. That way, you can strike something. If I strike at her and I strike bone, I don't have that braced against my hand. My hand's going to slide up the knife, cut my own fingers. If you have a guard on a knife, you don't have to worry about that. But most pocket knives do not have that guard. So brace that against the palm or the heel of your hand down here. The thumb is going to go on top of the knife and slightly over to the side, not directly on top. Again, if I strike and hit solid bone, this is going to bend back and possibly break my thumb. I want that to be able to slide off and give. Okay? Second grip, you can just go right into, is called a hammer grip. It's going to be 90 degrees across the palm. The way you use this is to use the base of the knife to strike with it. If she attacks me with her knife and I don't want to hurt her, the only thing I'm going to do is hit her wrist with the base of the knife. Okay. Third grip is the one that everybody's associating with a knife fight. It's called a reverse grip. Okay. Everybody says, well, if you see somebody with a knife like this, stay away from them. They know what they're doing. Okay? There are advantages and disadvantages to each type of grip. The advantage to the saber grip is you've got much more maneuverability with your wrist. You've got a longer reach. Okay? You can do a lot more turning with a saber grip than you can with the other type of grips. With the hammer grip, you're basically using the base of the knife. With the reverse grip, the only advantages of it is you can hide the knife, or if somebody attacks, you can hook with the end of the knife. Other than that, you don't have the range that you do with the saber knife, with the saber grip. You don't have the flexibility that you do with the saber grip. Okay? But you need to know these two types of grips, because if you get into a knife fight, you have a knife in your hand and you drop it, you're not going to take your eyes off of that person with the knife, look at your knife, figure out how I'm going to pick it up. You're going to go for that knife, and however you happen to pick it up, that's how you're going to fight with it. Okay? So, saber grip, base that on the heel of your hand. Hammer grip, 90 degrees across. Reverse grip, laid out. Your thumb again is on the top, but slightly over to the side. Again, in case it slips off, you don't want to break your thumb. Okay? Now, there are 3 ranges that we work with in a knife fight. First one is long range. For distance, it's knife tip to knife tip. Okay? So as she steps forward to attack, I step back and maintain that distance and am able to cut her hand. Notice that I can't get my other hand involved in it. I'm too far away to kick. I'm too far away to use elbows, punches, whatever. The only thing that I can do is step back and cut her wrist or cut her fingers. The only thing she can do to me is cut my wrist, cut my fingers. Okay? So this is the distance you want to be in if at all possible. Okay? Second one is called mid-range. Mid-range, when she attacks, I can get my free hand involved in the attack. I can get off balances going. I can stab her body. Okay? The only thing is I can't use the poignard or the base of the knife against her body, or I can't on her arm. And I can't do throws, I can't do elbow strikes, I can't do knees from this distance. But I'm at the point now where I can start controlling her long enough for me to do something. And I'm able to come in and strike. Okay? Third one, occasionally you're going to get into this position, but this is the worst possible position to be in. This is called close range. Close range right here. You can do a lot of slicing with a knife. You've got elbow shots, knee shots, head shots. You've got throws. You've got joint locks. A whole lot of stuff. But knife fighting is so fast that once you get in here, 7 times I cut it. In just 1 second. You don't want to get into that distance at all possible. You want to maintain my, or this distance right here. Okay? There are 5 angles of attack that we're going to work with today in the saber grip, hammer grip, and reverse grip. And the first one is going to be a downward from her left shoulder to her right hip. This angle here, whether I use a saber grip, a reverse grip, or a hammer grip, it's all coming in that angle. Number 2 is just going to be the backhand version of that, coming from her right shoulder to her left hip, down across that. Saber grip, hammer grip, reverse grip. 3 and 4 are horizontal. between the shoulder and the hip, somewhere in this area, right here. 3 strike, 4 strike to the back end. Fifth one we're going to be working on is just a straight in jab. Okay? The jab can come from the side, it can come from the back end, it can come up, it can come up from the other side, or it can come straight in. Or in case of reverse grip, it can come straight in here. Okay. So with those 5 grips, or those 5 angles of attack, and the 3 different grips, we're going to start out long range. Okay? And she's going to be the attacker. I'm going to be the defender. Make sure that you start out in this distance. And in knife fighting, long range is not as critical as it will be in mid-range and close range. But you want to keep your free hand up here by the middle of your chest. The reason being is that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So as she attacks, you want to get that free hand involved as quickly as possible. If you have the stance that most people prefer, right out here, she's going to slice your fingers off. Okay? Also, in order to use this hand, I first have to draw it back and then draw it forward for it to be effective. So try to keep your free hand here in the middle of your chest. Also for footwork, when you're facing your opponent, you don't want to be facing them straight on. Okay? You want about a 45-degree angle so that when they attack, your free hand can get involved in it. She attacks again. Your free hand can get involved in it. All right. Long range, which we're going to work on first. Again, it's not as critical because the free hand can't do anything. So, she's going to step and do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very slowly. The only thing I'm going to do is step back and cut her hand as she cuts me. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Once we get to the end of the line, we change roles. I become the attacker, she becomes the defender. Go slow. Give your partner time to move, maintain that distance, and cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice all the time she's got that distance. So I can't get into her with my knife, I can't get into her with my feet or my free hand. So let's work this way. Get your partner. One person attack, one person defend. We'll come down to this end, and then just reverse roles and walk back to the other end. Okay? When you're in a knife fight, you've got fear going, you've got adrenaline going, you're in a fight for your life. You don't have time to play around going from one grip to another. Okay? But if you are pretty confident in your abilities and you have somebody that you don't really want to injure, you just want to disarm them, you need to learn to go from this to this immediately. Okay? If she does a number 1 strike, I'm going to do a cut, then immediately hook. Alright? And the way to go from a saber grip to a reverse grip is easy. From your basic saber grip, bring your thumb down below the halfway point on the hilt of the knife. Either your ring finger or your middle finger opposes it. Notice that I'm more than halfway down on the hilt. From this position, all you have to do is just turn the knife horizontally. Okay? Then turn your hand over. You've got a reverse grip. To go back the same way, Put your thumb, again, halfway or slightly below halfway on the hilt. Let it rotate horizontally, and then just bring your thumb back up into position. Again, very slow. In the saber grip, put your finger underneath, your thumb on top. Halfway down, or a little bit more than halfway. Let it rotate. Bring your palm over. You go back the other way, thumb on the bottom, or actually thumb on top, finger on the bottom. Halfway or a little bit below. Let it rotate, and then just bring your thumb back on top. Now this is going to take practice, and I'd recommend in front of a mirror until you get used to it. Okay? But pretty soon you'll be able to cut and hook without even thinking about it. Just something for you to play with. So, key points to remember when we're going at long range. 1 through 5. Step back, maintain that distance, cut her hand. Your hand stays up here in the middle of your chest. Remember, you've got almost a 45-degree posture to your opponent. Number 2 attack, cut the hand. Number 3 attack low. Person comes in with a low slash, come over the top. Person comes back with a high slash, come under the bottom. With the jab, if she jabs low, come over the top. If she jabs high, come under the bottom. Logically. Okay? Now, take a quick break, 3 to 5 minute break, get some water, come back, we'll go on to mid-range. Person attacks, they come in close enough for you to use your free hand. You want to off-balance your opponent to a corner. We want to work on 45-degree angles. She comes in with a number 2 attack. Off-balance her to that corner. This is going to give you a fraction of a second to do something to your opponent before she regains her balance. Okay? And I'm talking you only have fractions of a second. But in a knife fight, knife fights are so fast. 2 seconds. 5 slashes across the stomach, 2 jab wounds. Okay. So when she attacks, slowly, with the 1. That off balance will give you a fraction of a second to do something before she can recover. Draw the person out down a 45-degree line. Number 2 attack. She's attacking down this line. Draw her out. This keeps her from using her feet. When she's drawing out here, if she attempts to use the left side, you just push her hand and she jams her own body. And you got this all wide open to do something. She does a number 2 attack. Notice that her back is to me. Wide open for me to do anything I want to do to her. The only way she can do anything is to take a step around, recover, and then she's gone. But by the time she does that, I've stabbed her 2 or 3 times or whatever. Okay? So, we're going to do the same thing we just did, but we're going to go mid-range. Important thing to think about when you're using the knife to block and the free hand off balance whichever way this knife is coming, that's the way you want to step. If she does a number one attack very slowly, I step to that side and draw her off balance 45 degrees down this line. 1 and 3. 2 and 4, backhands. I step in that direction, draw her off balance 45 degrees, and I'm able to do whatever I want to. For a number 5 attack, you can step either direction. If I'm here, I'm going to turn this way. Same thing if I draw her here. Critical to always know where her free hand is and if it's available to be used. Also, is she off balance? Can she kick me? Can she knee me? So it's not sufficient just to block and touch that, because that's going to come in and kick, hit elbows, knee, whatever. You've got to have an off balance. So she can't use that side, she can't use her legs. Okay? It does not have to be violent. In fact, I strongly recommend you go slowly, go softly, till you start learning this. We've been doing this for 15 years. Martial arts for 30. A little bit longer.
No.
Okay. Line up, attackers on this side, defenders on this side. Key points we want to work on here. You're maintaining distance as much as possible. You want to maintain long range if you're ever in a knife fight, because that's the only thing that she can hit, my hand. If she closes the gap close enough to get into mid-range, you've got to have that off balance. You've got to get this free hand here. That's why it's imperative you've got to keep your free hand up here in the middle of your chest. Draw her off balance 45 degrees. Notice I'm drawing her out. I'm not stepping into her. She does a number 2 attack. I draw her out. I don't step into her.
Jeff.
Okay? 3 and 4 the same way. With the jab, you can go either direction, depending on what you want to do. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I was thinking maybe I know something that we're doing, trying to be too nice to each other. We're not really stepping into it, and that's why maybe part of the reason why we're stepping into it. We did that, so we're stepping into it. Maybe
Jeff.
we need to be a little more
Jeff.
aggressive.
That, well,
I mean,
gently aggressive.
yes.
Gently aggressive. That's a good term.
Committed.
Committed.
Committed, yes.
Thank you.
Better term. All right. One of the things in Judo and Aikido is we work on centers. When you fight somebody, you're not fighting their arms, you're not fighting their legs, their head, their elbows, their knees. It's your center versus their center. Okay? The person who wins is the person who keeps their center toward their opponent and gets the, do number 2, gets the opponent to turn their center away. Notice my center is right straight toward her. Her center is over that way. She's got her back wide open to me. I can do whatever I want to. The problem a lot of people get into when they do this, knives, sticks, whatever they're doing, number 2 again, they turn into the opponent. They turn toward the weapon rather than the center of the opponent. Okay? So what you need to get into the habit of doing is sidestepping, keeping your center toward your opponent, breaking your opponent's center to the side. On one attack. Keep your center toward your opponent, break your center's opponent to the side. Okay? Close range. Once you get into close range, you're able to use the butt of the knife, you're able to use the elbow, knee, headbutts, throws, joint locks, whatever you want to use. We're only going to teach one thing today. You can do 101 different things. The only thing we're going to teach you today is how to stay alive. somebody attacks you, and you actually get into grappling distance. We're going to do the same thing we did with mid-range, except when she attacks, I'm going to control her elbow. Okay? Now, once you break her balance off, move your body into her arm. Don't pull her arm into you. If you do that, she's going to drop her elbow and slice right through you. Move into your opponent. Don't move your opponent into you. Off balance. Immediately step in. You're locking her wrist under your bicep, and you're pulling on the back part of her elbow. You grab somebody here, you can feel the bones on either side of the elbow. Use that as something to grab hold of and pull it into you. You are now working on just the forearm. You're not working on the upper arm here. Okay? This is now a part of your body. When she pulls the whole body. She doesn't pull just my arm. She is now a part of me. Once I have that locked, now I've got the knife. I can do whatever I want to. If she blocks it with her hand, I'm going to bring my arm over the top of hers, push her hand into her body, and push myself into her as hard as I can and drop my weight on her. She can't do anything. She can't use either hand. She can't use her feet. You can hold somebody there for a long time. Okay. Emphasis on this one. When they strike, control the elbow and off balance. This is not an arm bar. You are not pushing up on this. If you push up on this, the first thing she's going to do is pull out and cut you on the way out. You're pulling in on the elbow, not pushing up. Okay? Block with the knife. Block the elbow with the free hand. Break her balance. Step into her arm. Lock that under your elbow or under your bicep. Pull on the back of her elbow. Now you've got the knife to block, attack, whatever you want to do from this distance. Okay? So very, very slowly. Attackers on that side, defenders on this side. Plain edge knife. There are many ways of sharpening a knife. A lot of people sharpen it to a perfect edge. If you look at it under a microscope, the way to sharpen a knife is you'll have micro striations. Little striations like you see on a butter knife or a bread knife or something like that. There'll be little bitty ones in this blade. You don't want to sharpen it so that it's smooth. If it's completely smooth, it doesn't cut well. You have to have very tiny serrations in the knife for it to cut. The only way to cut something is to draw the knife across it. Okay? If you have this knife locked up here, she can't draw the knife across my body. Okay? I'm not letting her pull that knife out. That's why I've got my hand behind her elbow, not under her elbow, pulling it into me, locking her wrist into my body. So she can do a lot. She can move that knife around, but she can't damage it because she can't cut. Okay? That's why this move works. Get into different types of knives. A smooth bladed knife will do a lot more damage than a serrated knife. The reason being is the body is made to withstand a lot of punishment. If you cut somebody with a smooth blade knife, the veins just slice open and they stay open. When you cut somebody with a serrated edge, you rip veins and arteries. When veins and arteries get ripped, they close. Okay? They tighten up. So you do a lot more damage with this type of blade than if you do with a serrated edge type blade.
Pixelated.
Okay? So, just wanted to explain that real quick. Questions on what we're doing so far? I tried to go around and talk to everybody. Are you having problems with this?
Yes, sir.
The basic concept?
Not concentrating not stepping into it.
Okay. That's everybody's most important problem. Think, are you a karate student?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Think about when you're sparring with somebody. This is a fist. You're going to block that fist and step into this one. Think about what you're doing. Okay? You want to block that fist and be able to block this one at the same time. Okay? See how short a time I had to react before she came to that fist? What kind of time do I have to react to? See, I'm walking right into it. You're going to throw, you're going to do an arm bar, you're going to do whatever. So you move away. You move in such a position that not only do you have control of this, but I have control of the rest of her body through this. Her balance is broken. I can block her arm with this. I can take her and sweep her. Same thing for a backhand. If I do a backhand and I step into it, what is her free hand doing? Okay? What is her legs doing? What is her elbow doing? See how I'm just stepping right into that? You don't want to step into the person. You want to be able to do something to them before they can react. Okay? Very, very important to off-balance somebody with a knife. They give you a split second. I'm serious, I'm talking 1 to 200ths of a second to do something before they recover. Knife work is extremely fast. Can't emphasize that enough. I don't care how long that you studied, how good you think you are. You get a 10-year-old girl with a magic marker in her hand and tell her to go berserk on you, you will have marks all over your body. And that's not somebody who's practiced. That's somebody who's trained in this. Think about what happens when you get somebody who's done this for a while. You don't have time to do it. The best thing to do, if at all possible, is leave. Leave, run, get in your car, drive away, go in your house, close the door, and lock it. Do not confront somebody with a knife. Okay. 1 and 3. Very, very slow. Knife is coming from this angle. This is where I'm going to step. I'm going to meet her knife or her wrist with my knife. Control her elbow and break her balance. As soon as I've broken that balance, I step into her arm. I don't pull her arm into me. Grab behind her wrist, her elbow, pull it in, lock this. This is now part of you. She cannot hurt me with that knife at this point. The only thing she can do is with her legs or with her other foot. As soon as she attacks me with this hand, she wants to block that knife. I'm going to drive that into her body and break her balance again. I break her balance again, she can't use either foot, she can't use either hand. I can hold her here for a long time. If she's very, very athletic and much stronger, she can get up and dance away. But I'm going to keep that pushed into her. I'm going to keep as close to her as possible. And I'm going to keep my balance or my weight down on her. The only thing that she can do is a headbutt. Not very effective because she can't get distance. Okay? You can hold somebody here for quite a long time. Like as she's pushing down, don't let her feet get up, don't let her hand get all the way. Once she falls down to the ground, her elbow's broken. Okay. So, try that for just a little while longer. We'll take one more break. We'll go into the last section. Okay? Go.
Earl.
You're in an apartment. You can't get out the door. Your back is against the wall. The person coming at you has a knife and you don't. We're doing the same thing, basically, that we did when we had a knife in our hand. The only difference is where we attack. When a person attacks, they draw back and come forward, draw back and come forward. When a person draws back, you have take the off balance to that back corner at this point right here, take her down, lock the elbow if you need to. There's 101 different things that you can do. But this is the point where you attack the elbow. The very beginning. As soon as that knife starts to go back, you come right for the elbow, break her balance to the back, 45 degrees. So she can't use her feet. Her back is bent, so she can't use her hand effectively. You've also got your hand here free to block this. So you've got time to come in, take her down, do whatever you want to do to her. The second point is when somebody strikes, at the end of the strike, come in, control the elbow, and push it into her center. You've got to break the balance. It does no good for me to come here and do that. She's going to punch my lights out. Or to wait until the end of the strike and come in here, because she's going to come right back on top of it. Okay? Again. Immediately to this corner, 45 degrees. At the end of the strike, break it into her center. The angle is actually about 45 degrees to that side. Notice that her back is straight to me. I can do whatever I want to her from this position. Take her down, take her wherever I want. So, from a number 1 and number 3 strike, you're going to go up and down again. Person attacking has the knife. Person defending has nothing. Catch it on the very beginning. Catch it on the very end. Push it into her body. Notice that I miss with my hand. When you do that, you push with the forearm. Anything that it takes to lock that into her body. So she can immediately step out and use that knife. In the day class, the day seminar, this seems to work pretty good. We've got a large area to work with here. Problem is, you really have to jam her balance, otherwise you're moving into her free hand. So let her come. See the balance broken? She can't use her feet. She can't use her free hand for a split second. Allows you to do something. Okay? Get with your partner, move back and forth. Let's try those two. Okay? Backwards on that side. last thing we want to work on is the hardest thing any martial artist can do. Maintain calm.
Matt.
Time.
Matt.
Especially if you're in a real life life or death situation. It's the adrenaline's pumping, the nerves are on edge, you've got the fight or flight response going. The last thing you want to think of is say, oh, I need to calm down and relax. That's one of the most important things you can do. It seems like a contradiction in terms. But if you're so high, so hyper, that you can't calm down, and this person goes berserk on you, they're just going to smother you before you can react. But if you can think, relax, stay calm. What we use as a figure, I guess, icon, whatever, think of a calm, peaceful lake early in the morning. No ripples, no waves. You can see that in your mind. Your shoulders are going to come from here. Just relax. Your whole demeanor is going to change. I had a situation where I had a group of teenagers. This was 5 years ago. There was a group of teenagers over in Cypress Wood, decided they were going to have a gang fight. There were 30 of them out there. I was the first patrol officer there. One gang over here, one gang over here. The two leaders right here in the middle. I didn't do a single thing to them. I just walked up and didn't say a word. Just sink, center, be calm. They didn't say a word. They just backed up and walked away. It's the most unnerving thing that you can think of. When you walk up to somebody and you think, oh, I'm in a fighting position, I'm in a fighting mode, I'm going to tear them up, and they sit there and they smile at you and they go, you going to do anything to that person? There's something wrong with him. I'm not hanging around him. Okay? You get out of more situations like that without the confrontation than you can by ever fighting. I emphasize again, somebody approaches you with a knife, you reach into your pocket and you pull out lint, you turn and run. Do not face a knife fighter empty-handed unless you have absolutely no choice. And then you do everything in your world, powerful, anything that you can to kill that person.
You didn't
Okay?
say that.
Yes, I did. He's got a knife and you don't, you kill him. Liability standpoint, hey. Yes. That's clearly self-defense.
Food for your life.
Yes. Now, if I'm empty-handed and she's got a knife, I'm going to have a hard time explaining this to a judge. Okay, you took the knife away from her, then you killed her? Wait a minute. But if the roles are reversed, me being 70 pounds heavier than her, 6 inches taller, well, why didn't you stomp him some more? Okay? Be very, very careful out there. People will see you at the drop of a hat. Okay. One thing we're going to work on is we're going to do the same thing that we were doing, empty-handed off balance, but try to do it calmly. Stay calm, placid, late. Have her attack. And with no emotion. Catch her on the follow-through. Absolutely no emotion. It sounds like it's easy, but it's the hardest thing to do. Okay? Get with your partner, Let's line up and go back and forth here. We'll start off in the middle. Huh? Not a person. Okay? That's what everybody is taught. Okay? I stand right here and I look straight at her eyes. I'm going to reach up and touch her cheek. And she's going to stop my hand before I touch her. Okay. She's going to shift her gaze from here down to here. The reason being, this is where you watch in judo and anybody who's been involved in football. This is where you watch. Because anytime your body moves, your shoulders move first. You couldn't see. Sorry. Okay. So, her gaze is shifted down to here. Same thing. See the shoulder move before the rest of the hand has position.
One of the things is being an ex-competitor. One of the things is when you look into someone's eyes, you get caught up in that personality. You see? When you don't look into their eyes, it's just
A body.
a body. Okay, so it isn't a matter of will. It's a matter of a body. Okay, because some people, you know. So
They try to
if you
psych
don't
you
get
out.
engaged, if you don't engage in the eye thing, then it's a body instead of you.
And if you don't believe that this works, come up to me. Okay? Straight in my eye. I'm going to touch your cheek. Just like this. I want you to rub my hand. Am I touching your ear every time? Right here. Most of it. Don't focus, but just kind of gauge it. Right. Because the eyes are interesting objects. Anything you focus straight ahead on, you can see clarity. Anything in your peripheral vision is where you detect motion. This is what's coming into play here. The second part of it is, like she said, we don't have a contest of egos involved anymore. I'm not going to psych her out because she's not going to look in my eyes. She's not going to play that game. Anybody else?
Just the ladies.
We're going to have a process to do it. You reach out and touch. Am I touching you again? Just a little. Across your knee. Did I touch you? This works for a reason. This came from the University of Alabama or University of Oklahoma. I forgot which one. This is from 1968, the coach there. And it was a long article that he wrote on the internet that I read. And it made perfect sense. And we got to the dojo and started trying this, started playing with it. Every person that we tried this with, this is what happened. Because you can see movement out of that shoulder. Second thing is you take away the clash of egos. I'm not going to overpower her anymore because she's not going to play that game. And she stands right here. I'm no longer an ego. I'm just a body. Okay? I'm just a body. Before I even got started, she was up. Because she saw that motion. You add this calm, peaceful mind, you become very smooth in your motion. It looks like you're going faster, but you're just smooth, and your timing is better because you detect motion from the peripheral vision. Okay. We finished a little bit earlier than the other class. Do you have any questions on what we worked over today? You get a basic feel of what we're doing?
Yes, sir.
Who wants to fight me if I've got a knife in my hand?
No, sir.
Anybody here? Who wants to fight him if he's got a knife in his hand? I'm walking out the door. I think so too. I really do. Do not think that you can defend against the knife. Sato is the first one to say, I'm out the door. He's been doing this for 40, 45 years.
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
If two people being drunk would have decided to get in the knife,
Yeah.
both have a knife,
Uh-huh.
let's say they both, even though they're drunk and somewhat skilled, what basically is going to happen?
They're both going to get cut. You don't stand and get in between them. I go into bars on 1960, especially Hispanic bars, Azul, Club Azul. Friday night, Saturday nights, when I used to work Friday and Saturday nights, they would have a fight in there all the time. Broken beer bottles and knives were the most common things. Occasionally they had guns. But you do not get in between two drunks if they've got broken bottles or knives or something in their hands, because they're both going to cut you. You let them fight it out, or you hit them on the back of the head with a chair. You don't get involved in that. And if you're dumb enough to drink and pull a knife out and fight somebody with a knife, I'll be glad to take you to jail. You need to go somewhere where you can get some sanity. Any other questions?
Just a small question about the eyes and the throat.
Uh-huh.
Is it so much that it doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter where you're looking, as
No.
long as you're relaxed?
It's
Not
not-
so much as there. I realize some people, me and my son talk about this often. I think it's getting to like the stare, the concept.
Because it becomes a clash of egos. Your mind is partially locked into this clash of egos, so it's not free to do something else. I start looking at the end of his nose. I look at a little booger hanging out of the end of his nose here. I look at his mustache. I look at his, I'm making it up. He doesn't have it. I look at his chin. I look at his throat. Suddenly I don't have that clash of egos going on. He's just a body. Okay? Same thing for me. If we get into a situation like this, and I'm going to touch up, reach out and touch his body, we've got an ego thing going. Well, okay. You think you're going to stop me? You're wrong. Every time I'm touching his ear.
Just a question on that part, what I was going to bring up. Would it still matter if it's no longer a stare? If it's still
No, because it's still a clash of egos.
still the same?
The eyes are the windows of the soul. Okay? If I stare at his eyes, there is an ego. If I stare anywhere else, there's just a body. Do you understand the difference?
So there's no way to separate them?
No. There's a course I took in autohypnosis, and the guy who taught it was a PhD in psychology. They teach now that there are actually two people inside you. You have a conscious, everyday body, and you have a subconscious. subconscious is like a computer. It takes everything literal. White, black, yes, no. The conscious body has shades of gray, but they affect each other. Okay? And they can send messages back and forth, but they're not integrated. Okay? And I thought he was full of hooey until I actually got hypnotized and certain things happen, and it's true. You've got two separate entities in there. We're not going to that. But you want to get away from ego challenges. We're not going to play the ego. He's staring right here in my eyes. He shifts his gaze down to my chin, to my throat, to here. It doesn't matter. Think calm, peaceful way. Barely touched his ear. Everything's focused now on this. Your mind's not hidden in different directions now. I'm not worried about this ego fight plus the physical fight.
You know what I find it seems to me that mechanically speaking, you're looking here at the girl, you're also looking at the midfoot point.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's certainly fitting her.
Right. And that's what they said in the football article. When you're down right here, you want to get in. Everybody stares right at the other person. But when you stare at the other person, you have to tilt your head back. You're raising your body up slightly. You're thinking up whether you realize it or not. When I'm staring right here, I'm now looking down. I'm lowering my gaze. I'm lowering my center. I'm now thinking down rather than up. So when we come together, he rises and I drop. That was the football article. Same thing as applying here. You're getting rid of the ego. You have no reaction, nothing else to think about except like that.
When you come in more of a relaxed posture, to be hands more relaxed, you know, even though you're not looking at how you're coming, you know, you've got your focus on the midway point, but you allow your arms to drop as well.
No, you want to be in a mid position. Okay. What we're taught, this is an interrogation posture for us. I carry my pistol in my right hand. So my right side is angled away from him, but my hands are at waist level. Non-threatening, but able to move into position. Not hanging down here. From here, it's just like having the free hand by the chest. It becomes a straight line out. If you want to find your hand, so, we add that part to it. He looks right here. Things calm, peaceful, late. I don't go anywhere near his ear. Look how far away from him I was. So, the hardest thing in the world to do is you have to practice meditation. You can be calm with a nice person in front of you. You have a much, much stronger chance of survival than you can. You just don't risk it. Any other questions? Did everybody learn something today?
Yes, sir.
What happens if somebody comes at you with a knife?
Run.
Yes. Okay. Thank you all for coming very much.